Okay, so continuing on with one-step equations, we are solving these by multiplying and dividing. Let's try this next one here. Number 2. All right, for number 2, we are given n divided by 3 equals 4. N divided by 3 equals 4. So the first thing I want to do is I want to isolate the variable. I want to get the n by itself on the left side. So to get it by itself, I would have to get rid of this 3 in the denominator somehow. Now notice we're dividing by 3. So what's the opposite of dividing? The opposite of dividing is going to be multiplying. So I need to multiply both sides by 3. And I put those 3 inside parentheses just to show you that we are multiplying. Well, what happens is we have a 3 being multiplied by a 3 on the bottom, so they cancel out. You're technically doing 3 times 1/3, since that 3 is in the denominator. And we're left with n is equal to 4 times 3, which is 12. And that's going to be the number that's inside of the solution set. Right, Coach?
That's correct.
Absolutely. So what we're going to do next is we're going to check our work by sticking with our original equation. So what was our original? It was n divided by 3 equals 4. N divided by 3 equals 4. We know that our solution was positive 12. So I'm going to plug in 12 for n and see what happens. And it should all work out if we did it right. Okay, so all I did was I replaced the n with the 12. I didn't change anything else about the equation. The 3 is still in the denominator, and the 4 is still on the other side. The only thing we have left to do is do 12 divided by 3, which is 4. So I get 4 equals 4. Is that a true statement? Yes, it is. So I know that 12 is going to be our solution for that problem. All right, moving right along here, I'm going to leave this up there for about a minute so you guys can copy that down, and then we're going to try number 3 and number 4. So here, we're either multiplying or dividing. And the way you try to choose which one you're doing is you want to look at what you need to do to get that variable isolated. Now, if it starts off by multiplying, like we did in number 1, negative 5 times n, then we would choose the opposite of multiplying. We would divide first. But if we have a situation like number 2, where we have n divided by 3, we are dividing, so we need to choose the opposite of dividing, which is multiplying. So that way I can get that 3 out of the denominator. Just make sure you do both sides. Okay, let's try number 3. Okay, for number 3, I am given 2/3 m equals what? 1/2. 2/3 m equals 1/2. Okay, so right here, what I want to do first is I want to isolate the variable on one side. And in this case, I'm going to be isolating the m on the left side. So what that means is I have to get rid of that 2/3 somehow. Now, there are 2 ways you can think about this. You can multiply by the reciprocal. So you can multiply by the reciprocal. And what a reciprocal is taking a fraction and then flipping it over. We're going to take a fraction and we're going to flip it over. And you'll see why we're going to do that in a minute. But multiplying by the reciprocal is one way we can figure out how to solve this equation. So over here, I have 2/3 2/3 is my fraction. I have a 2 in the numerator, the top, and I have a 3 in the denominator, the bottom. So what's the reciprocal of 2/3? What's the reciprocal of 2/3? I need to flip the fraction over, and I get 3/2. 3/2. So if I multiply the left side by 3/2, I need to multiply the right side by 3/2. So I'm going to put a 3/2 over here and see what happens. Now, why did we multiply by the reciprocal? It's because these 2's are going to cancel out. They're going to cross cancel. And the 3's are also going to cross cancel. So the 3's get canceled out. I'm left with just an m on the left side. So now we've isolated our variable by multiplying by the reciprocal. Next, on the right side, we need to multiply these two fractions. Now, there's nothing I can cancel out with these two fractions. And when we're multiplying these two fractions, I want to multiply the top numbers, and then I want to multiply the bottom numbers. So on the top, I have 1 times 3. But on the bottom, I'm going to have 2 times 2. So, Coach, what's it going to be on the top? What's 1 times 3?
1 times 3 gives you 4, and then 2 times 2 gives you, 1 times 3 gives you 3, and then 2 times 2 gives you 4. It'd be 3/4.
3/4?
3/4. Multiply the numerators together, multiply the denominators together. 1 times 3 equals 3, and 2 times 2 equals 4. So 3/4 is my answer. That's my solution. Set 3/4. Then you're going to go back and plug it back in, and you're going to check your answer. Go back to the original problem. 2/3 m equals 1/2. Replace the m with 3/4. You're going to take 2 times 3 at the top, which is the numerator, 6, and 3 times 4, the numerators. You're going to get 12. And you're going to get 6/12 is, of course, 1/2. And you've checked your answer. 1/2 equals 1/2.
Good. Okay. I'll leave that up there for a little bit, and then we'll do number 4 on the next slide. So for all of these problems that you do on the classwork or the quiz, I'm going to be making sure that you're showing your work and that you're checking. Those are the 2 things that I'm going to be looking for. All right, so let's look at number 4. This will be the last one that we do. I've got 5/8, and that is equal to v/16. So what I want to do is I want to isolate the variable. I want to isolate v on the right side, since it already shows up on the right side. But that means I've got to get rid of that 16. So how am I going to get rid of that 16 if it's in the denominator? I would have to multiply both sides by 16, right? Because that would be doing the opposite of dividing. So we're going to multiply both sides by 16. Now what happens is on the right side, the 16s are going to cancel out. Since one is on the top and one is on the bottom, I'm left with v on the right side. And then all the numbers show up on the left side. So what can I cancel out here? Well, if I cancel out an 8 from the bottom, I would have to cancel out an 8 from the top. 16 divided by 8 would be 2. And then on the top, I only have 2 times 5, which is going to give me 10. So 10 is going to be the only number inside the solution set. So the last thing we're going to do is we're going to check our work. When we check, we always start off with the original equation. The original was 5/8 is equal to V over 16. So that's our original equation. And what I want to do to check is to put in our solution for the missing variable. Our solution set was 10. So I'm going to let V be 10 and just see what happens. All the while keeping everything else the same. All right, so I get 5/8 is equal to 10 over 16. What I can do with that 10 over 16 is I can divide both sides by 2, since they both have a 2 in common. If I do that, 10 divided by 2 would be 5, and 16 divided by 2 on the bottom would be 8. So I get 5/8 equals 5/8, and that is true. So that's how I know that this is correct. Okay, so you have 2 things that are going to be due on Sunday. You've got your equations classwork, which is going to be a mix of adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. So all 4 of those are going to come up. And then the last thing you're going to do this week is the equation quiz, which once again is going to be a combination of all 4 of those operations. Okay, that is it. That's all I have to cover today. So class dismissed. If you have any questions about today's lecture, or if you have any questions about your classwork or your quiz, you are free to stay after and ask me questions down in the chat box. If not, then I will see you guys on Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day, and make it a very mathematical one.